Let's get ready to pundit. No, I don't know if that's one of my better Michael Buffer notes. Give me some time. I'll practice it. Maybe you'll want me to or not. But at any rate, great show lined up. Give me an overview of the topics, talk about the crew, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Snipes. Okay. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about some NBA A1 and the future of the NBA. Could use a little bit of help, anyways, but still, that's a subjective opinion. Okay. Also, we had ECU Infielder. We're talking about first compete with a prosthetic leg, and we're going to discuss the 100 most valuable sports franchises. Everybody will have their pundit's point and say whatever they want to get off their mind. So, with that said, let me introduce the crew. Our producer for the show is Candy Ebling, and we have Jacob Christner, the pundit himself. Welcome back, Jacob. Then again,
thank you very much. I always enjoy these Thursday nights.
Oh, they're always a lot. Well, Wednesday nights are pretty good too, pal.
They very much are.
Definitely what we're about. That's okay. And Denzel Snipes, sniper himself.
Hey, how's it going? And, you said you were coming with a little bit of Scott Buffer. I thought you were going to give us a little bit of Scott Lundquist. How do you do?
I didn't get to that point yet.
That's Jackie Gleason.
I got to say that late. I got all kinds of impersonations. I'll give you guys a new one every week to keep it real.
And
all right, but this one just happened to come out nicely because he buffers like to hang around different rings, whether it's UFC or whatever we've got. And last but not least, the man himself, George Eichhorn. Hello, Joshua Burstein. I love this guy. He comes on all of our shows. One of our top fans.
Hello, guys and gals.
Maybe we'll one of these days open up Pundit for the individuals that participate. The most will hold a fist spot for them. Joshua will put you on that list so you can sit there and interact with us. And I like having others on here. It really makes it really real. I mean, I enjoy the chat room. Don't get me wrong, but at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the red carpet. Joshua Dorr here. Well, George, you and I remember that. That was actually a furniture store.
Joshua?
Yeah, Joshua Dorr, actually. How about that? Those people that remember our age. But at any rate, now I'm going to turn over the microphone to Denzel Snipes. Go ahead, Mr. Snipes.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get the festivities started. Got a loaded show for you, everybody. Scott had just ran down a list of topics for you. So let's go into number one. Pretty interesting one right here, and that is NBA AI and the future of the NBA. Now, I admit at first glance when I looked at the topic, I was like, oh, Allen Iverson. Cool, this will be easy. But actually it doesn't have anything to do with Iverson. Or maybe we'll see Allen Iverson in a computerized version. So basically, NBA AI debuted at the annual All-Star Tech Summit for All-Star Weekend. Users can activate movie mode as one of its features and see live NBA games stylistically. Not exactly a brand new concept. They previously previewed AI-powered basketball coaches in Metaverse 2 years ago. So we're not saying that this is going to be like, oh, well, they're replacing us with AI or anything like that. I can see it probably with simulations, like, kind of like with what they do with Madden, and they simulate maybe the Super Bowl, predict your Super Bowl winner, and then they simulate maybe the Chiefs and the 49ers like they did this past Super Bowl and like any other year or any big game. They probably will use it for simulations. I mean, they already have NBA 2K, but maybe they want to go a different route. Maybe they may use it for simulations for playoff games or playoff series, rather, NBA finals, things of that nature. Maybe even all-star games. But it's a pretty interesting concept. I can honestly say that 20 years ago, I didn't think that it would be something like this. But 20 years ago, I didn't think that we could talk to each other over phone and actually see each other. So technology once again. But I first wanted to start it off with George and get your thoughts about NBA AI and the future of the NBA. What do you got?
Oh, wow. This is a really, really interesting topic. I tell you what, Adam Silver, the commissioner, who I know not all of us have great feelings for, and you mentioned Denzel was at the league's tech summit at the All-Star game. And I think what happens in a situation like this, obviously they're trying to still reach out and gain more young people, obviously, than they have right now, young fans. So in other words, they're going to be able to be like their own director, the way I understand this, and have their own control, if you will, over a game they're watching, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it reminds me of playing Madden, and doing something along those lines. I don't know to the older fan if it's going to be much different, but there are some that obviously are more computer savvy than myself that might want to go and check this out. This is just an interesting development for a league that really, despite all the great contracts on TV they get, and TV and radio and internet, it still is still struggling in my eyes because we've talked about it before. The players are not relating well to the fans. The players are taking days off and all that load management stuff, and there's constant negative things that we hear, obviously, with some of the players and things they're doing that are not proper, and getting suspended for different things. So all that being said, I mean, the NBA is trying to find a stronger foothold in the communities, in the minds of the young people that follow the league, and also for future technology. And that's what this is all about. Let's face it. They're trying to allow people to enjoy the games in a different kind of setting, I guess. But until I see it, until I actually can grasp it with my own eyes, it's a little bit foggy to me. But like I said, I think it's an attempt to try to reach the people that are really into AI, artificial intelligence, and also the gaming industry, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you figured, of course, it's going to reach, the younger generation and everything because AI started, its uprise about what, maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Well, this thing did debut 2 years ago, or rather, it was tested 2 years ago, from the looks of it. But if this thing blows up, I do have to, tell you that I could see other sports leagues following suit. On that note, I'm going to pass on to Jacob Christner. And before you go on your commentary, quick question. If this thing takes off, how much longer before the NFL follows suit?
Oh, I mean, remember they already did Toy Story with the game.
True.
With that thing during London. So they're sort of doing that anyway. But part of this whole deal is it's kind of an irony. It's there. You can basically, in this NBA AI, you can basically, the kids watching it can create superheroes to watch. So LeBron can be that superhero, whatever. The irony is we had superheroes because they played every week. They didn't feel pain. Our superheroes didn't feel pain because they were always there. Yeah. These ones take a break from it. But they take a break from it. But the big thing about this is it reminds me of my old childhood buddy that reminded me that only 53%, maybe a little less, of kids watch sports the way we used to, which it used to be over 90. And it's like, and they are trying to get their attention. It's kind of like any churches that try to get kids into church on Sundays. You have to make it flashier. You have to make it a little more than just the service itself. Everything has to be more than the surface. Now it can't be just I have a 16-year-old nephew my brother and I will watch something or other, and he's on YouTube. You have to get their attention however possible. And it's like, and by the way, let's bring up chat for 2 seconds because I saw a thing. Good evening, Duncan. How you doing tonight? And I saw Will earlier. Good evening, Good evening, gentlemen. Good, how you doing? No, that's the big thing. It's like it's going to be a Major League Baseball. It's going to be everything. Kids are going to want to watch it their way. I mean, look, did you see that court for the 3-point shootout?
Yeah.
The dunking, all that stuff. Did you see the dunks like Mac McClung and stuff like that? Did you see
the
those?
Effects and
the effects and everything? You can't. We've gotten to the point where it's still the greatest dunk of all time. We could just say it's Vince Carter's, but we've gotten to the point where it's gone past something like that, the Flash, because he didn't have all of those effects, all that kind of stuff in the thing. It's not to the eye. It isn't to the all-seeing eye anymore. Everybody wants those flashy things, just like they want flashy stats instead of winning, and that's so many fans.
Yeah, and that's a great thing that you mentioned because it's something to sell, to the kids, and they have so much more than we did because, everybody here on the screen, the way that we got into football we didn't have none of this flashy stuff. We literally sat down with our dads and uncles, and they explained the game. Our dads and uncles, and some of us, our mothers, you know, that were football fans, they sold the game to us in addition to the action on the screen. You know, so with something like this, and grabbing their attention through, you know, the Nickelodeon and the Toy Story and NBA AI and everything, you know, talking about concepts from, you know, 2 leagues. You know, they definitely have way more to get into the game than we ever did. But I want to bring this on to Scott and get your thoughts about this one, NBA AI. And I know that, you know, you kind of skittish about the game today, you know what I mean, from all the days on Basketballs and such. But this right here,
that idea.
yeah,
What gives you that idea?
I could have swore that was you, Scott, on those episodes, man. I don't know. You might got an evil twin somewhere.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, okay? I'm in a very impersonating mood today. So what I'm going to do is bring one out from JBL's. Listen. Listen. Okay. Didn't we just have an NBA All-Star game that netted 397 points? Didn't we? For the NBA's hit an all-time low. Listen. Of course, JBL is our unofficial fifth wheel here. Of course, we have a lot of great ones in the chat room. Okay. Here's the deal. For all you folks on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you're getting this thing, even on the audio, here's the deal. Okay. How many of you remember Lost in Space with Dr. Zachary Smith way back in the day? Okay. Good. Comments are appreciated because I'm telling you, I'm taking you back to a different world. I'll tell you where I'm going. I'd like to sit here and take you back to David Stern's world, which is a whole lot better than the one that we're in here. We got silver dust out there, not gold dust. Okay. Now, load management. Okay. In today's term is just as bad as an expletive. Okay. That you would be calling it somebody because the NBA had to negotiate just to get 65 games to get an award. Only in the NBA. That's darn king. Okay. Can we have that? Okay. Only in the NBA. No, and I haven't had that much caffeine. I'm just getting warmed up. I love being on the show. It tends to bring something out of me. Okay.
No,
Yeah, well, I had that earlier. Now I've graduated to Sprite, zero sugar for tonight. Okay. So here's the deal. Okay. I'm going to go back and do another impersonation. Okay. From the late John Banner, who goes out there and plays Sergeant Schultz. Okay. I know nothing about this stuff. Okay. And do I really care about this stuff? No. And I'll tell you why. Because the only AI that the NBA players have is they have artificial intelligence, okay, realizing that once upon a time, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, okay, rescued us from tape delay. Once upon a time, okay, they went out there and had the NBA Finals at 11:30. Well, let me give you a little story about the whole thing. I loved it because I was working in the kitchen at the Highland House in Michigan on Friday night. I got to see the games on tape delay on CBS. So for all this stuff and all the gimmicks they're attempting to do, okay, you know what I think about the whole thing? I don't care and I don't know. I don't care and I don't know. And if you want me to sit here and go ahead and be American Idol on a singing song, I promise you I will break a Memorex class. Okay. So I'm giving you probably the most different response that anybody in their right minds would come up with all that business. Okay. But the reality of the whole situation, they're going to need a whole lot more than this to rescue this league because that 397-point All-Star game to me was an absolute joke. Okay. Defense to me reminds me of many years ago when I was growing up with my brother and my parents. Okay. When they talked double Dutch, it was a foreign language. What they did on Sunday and the AI. They need a whole lot more than that. So let's talk about the future of the NBA. If they could get a good TV deal, then we'll work about AI. All we're seeing right now in the NBA is AI, artificial intelligence, and I emphasize the word artificial, okay? Because that's what we have here with all of this, what you call a mess, okay? Many of us as kids had parents yell at us because we had messes in our rooms. Well, guess what, mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, and all you people out there, the NBA is a bigger mess than what our bedrooms used to be. So if any of you people were able to get all of that out of you, then you know what? You don't have artificial intelligence. You just simply have intelligence. And that's And you know what? As a great Paul Harvey would say, that was the rest of the story.
Indeed, that was. And you're
Well,
definitely
start
singing in
off with
person.
Indeed, because you know what? Indeed. And that's another JB Ellis moment. So if you are watching this, JB, okay, we haven't thought about it yet. If indeed, JB, okay, that Al Michaels will go out there and say, when you're reading my book, okay, do you believe in miracles? Yes. Okay, well, let me
Tell him, Scott.
But the reality is, that is my moment on the subject. Okay. So anybody that goes to all these artificial intelligence schools, then you dissected what I said. And yes, Joshua, I am the Motor City Madmouth. Basically.
You're definitely singing in person next year in New Orleans. That box has got to get checked.
I have a lot of things I plan to do in New Orleans. And if a particular individual from Calgary, Alberta gets there, then there's that song called Singing the Blues.
Hey, Denzel, is he talking about Bret the Hitman Hart?
No. Not quite him. Not quite. No. Bret Hart might be a nicer guy. But moving on to our next topic here.
See, I got a bunch of laughing poles. I love it, man, with you guys.
And that is the inspirational story of ECU infielder Parker Byrd, who became the first in Division I baseball history to compete with a prosthetic leg. He made his appearance in last Friday's win versus Ryder. Part of his right leg was amputated in a boating accident in 2022. In his one appearance, he reached base on a walk. And pinch runner had taken his spot. He got a standing ovation when he came up to bat, and he got a loud ovation when he exited the field. But this right here is just simply amazing. You hear stories of amputees and having to come back from that, either single amputees, double amputees, and just making the absolute best of a negative situation. And here you have a guy who still was able to will himself back onto the field. And it's not like he had this accident like 6 years ago and went through like this rigorous, like it was just like 2 years ago, maybe even less than 2 years ago. But he most definitely made his way back after such a horrific event. Having to lose a limb, that's never easy for anybody. But to play sports after that, I think that he's going to be a bit of an inspiration to those out there who, if they go through something like this and they're playing ball, and they may think, well, hey, if Parker Byrd could do it, maybe it's not over. I want to start off with George.
Before you go any further, you're going to do a little bit of work in the chat rooms. All right, go ahead. I'm going to put them up in rapid fire.
All right. Joshua Bernstein says, tell him, Scott, and told him he did. And he will always tell you. Motor City Madmouth, indeed. That is his name. That is his game. Wow. Rebecca Bernstein, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. And
wow. Okay, and then of course we have
all right, the other JB. What's going on? Good evening. This is kneecap biting with Motor City Lions. Jeremy Ballreich, aka Officer Ballreich.
All right, we got to stay up to date with this. This is really what we're not here to talk to ourselves. We're here to talk to these.
We
people,
enjoy
right?
you, Jeremy.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So want to pass it on to George and get your thoughts about Mr. Parker Byrd making his appearance as the first amputee to compete in a Division I college baseball game.
Well, it's a sad, yet it's a very impressive story to tell. It was a boating accident, I understand, back in July of 2022, and the community stepped forward. They raised over $90,000 online to help him with his medical costs. I understand that both legs were damaged, and then the one, of course, had to be amputated. It really pulls at your heartstrings when you hear a story like this, but the drama and the desire and the will to still play baseball is tremendous. Any sport, if he was involved in, but this is something that obviously his whole life he wanted to do. 20 years old and being in that season opening game, it was just unbelievable. I really, really commend him, his determination, his drive to reach his goal and to continue to play sports after such a terrible thing happened to him. when he was boating, and it's just like I said, it pulls at your heart, but it's a good story only because he made it good, and his determination made it good to go on with life. It reminds me of all the wounded warriors that come home after serving their nation, the United States, in wars and things like that. I mean, there's so many of them, and there's so many stories. It's just an incredible thing. If you've ever watched the Memorial Day concert from Washington, D.C. on PBS, you'll see what I'm talking about when they show and spotlight stories of men and women that served our country. But all this being said, great job, college sophomore. Do it, Mr. Bird. I admire you and your determination. Way to go.
Absolutely. Doing what was necessary to still accomplish a dream. That is a story that each and everybody can get behind. With that being said, passing it on to Jacob, your thoughts on Parker Bird competing in a Division I game as an amputee, first ever.
Oh, and see, the thing is, it's amazing to listen to, especially the story that you have, but think about the different type of athlete that we have now that you can do this. Just think of just from that by itself. Like, we've got a technology to the point where that Elon Musk can have a chip in somebody's brain that's moving a mouse by itself. So what do you think a prosthetic can do now?
Yeah.
The prosthetic, remember, you were looking at a prosthetic where everybody would have the prosthetic to live a regular life, but they'd still limp. Now you're getting prosthetics where it moves the fingers just like regular fingers, like we have here. Mm-hmm. We're having all this, and it's like, this not going to just be a hook anymore. It isn't going to be everything. He's going to be able to run just in the next years. They're going to be running just like normal. Mm-hmm. And that shouldn't have been a shock because we're seeing guys that are 5'6", like Jose Altuve, hitting 400 feet. These are, even with PEDs, we can just say, that's amazing. They are still athletes. It's a different day. And it's like, and Parker Bird, congratulations for being the first, and we can put this on a trivia because we're going to see a lot more of this, and it isn't going to be 10, 15 years from now. It might be next year.
Yeah.
And it might be next year, and I'm very happy to really see something like this because remember this part of our lives. We used to have a limited amount of what you'd see on television for people. The limited amount of things for sports. Like you wouldn't have, now you're seeing clips of like the really overweight guy playing in a college basketball game. Remember that little clip?
Yes.
That you'd see, and he was shooting threes and hitting them. And you'd see these things. Now you're seeing an amputee going in and with a prosthetic, it's probably going to work just the same. One of the biggest things we're seeing now, life is for everybody. It was a limited amount of it was for a limited amount of people. Greatness was for a limited amount of people in the day. Now greatness can be for everybody. That's what the internet really is for. As much as it drives us nuts, it shows, if we can get past the anger, it shows that it can be just for everyone. You work hard enough and give it enough grind.
Yes, it is. The one thing, though, and it's not just the internet, to your point, it's not just the internet, it's just people in general. It shouldn't take a bad, tragic event to bring everybody together. And we've talked about this, Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't take anything, horrible for people to be like, wow, like, we all need to come together, but why has it got to be something terrible, People rallying together for this guy, great, but it shouldn't take that. That's awesome. George, you said 90K they raised for him, right? That is awesome. That is a community coming together.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. And I would love to see this, not just for like amputees. I'm talking about people who are ill, people who lost everything in a fire or a flood or something like that. That'd be great. But the point is, it shouldn't take something tragic happening to bring everybody together, because it seems like in between time, everyone's just kind of angry at each other. They're angry at each other because no one's sick, no one's hurt. You've heard me talk about this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I'll let you answer in just a second. You've heard me say this. Why do we have to be such a reactive nation instead of proactive nation?
Mm-hmm.
It's always oh well, let's make up a law after something terrible happens to somebody, sign it into law, or we'll do this rule, or we'll do this because something happens. Why can't we just be proactive, and learn how to come together and squash differences before something bad even happens? Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, one of the things we used to have an example of this, Mayberry. We used to way back in the '60s. I'm just going to say this. It was Andy Griffith Show, and you had Mayberry. Everybody came together, small town, all of that kind of stuff. Not a whole lot of crime, but you had more people. Got to remember, one of the episodes was, and you know this, George, you know this, Scott. One of the episodes was them getting together on Sundays, and you have the sales guy who's trying to move on, but no one's open. Everybody learns to slow down. And now imagine that guy seeing how fast we have to speed up in this world. And in truth, the internet could cause if we wanted it to, the internet could cause a technological Mayberry, but it wouldn't make itself money. But who would have the guts to try?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that being said, I do want to round this out with Scott and get your thoughts on Mr. Parker Bird and his journey back to the diamond. Take it away.
Oh, I got a lot. I've been thinking about this for a long time, ever since it popped into my head. Number one, any individual that can play Division I with a prosthetic leg is unbelievable. It really, really is. I mean, think about it. Tough enough to play Division I with two healthy legs, let alone attempt to do it with one. Right? So I wish him well. But there's another side to this story which few people don't realize. I think many of us know a particular individual in his late 50s, okay, that's attempting to play Division I football in his late 50s, okay. And here's the reality. When that individual who's playing Division I football in his late 50s gets bowled over by a 275, 300-pound kid, you know where that individual is going to end up? The Twilight Zone. Oh, yes, the Twilight Zone, so I wish that individual well, but you know what? He's going to have a bigger headache, and Tylenol won't get it done. So that is that. But getting back to the main subject here, you know what? Let's face it. Just because you have prosthetics doesn't mean that you stop living your normal life. You just have to do it a little differently. You have to have a whole lot of physical therapy in an effort to acclimate to what you're doing. But think about it. What about Jim Abbott? Here's a guy that, when we think about it, didn't he pitch with one arm? Right?
He threw a no-hitter too. Yes, he did.
It's one thing to pitch with one arm, throw a no-hitter. So just because you have people that are disabled doesn't mean they can't do anything. And as much as I hate to say this, what about in South Africa? What's this guy named? Oscar Pistorius, okay? He had prosthetics, and we know that didn't end out very well with a particular individual. So just because you have prosthetics doesn't mean that you can't do a lot of different things. This one just happens to be a lot more inspiring because he's in Division I and playing in college is what he's doing. But again, as I related to the other individual in his late 50s, good luck, because the thing is, with that individual, a lot of the athletes are bigger and stronger, is what they really, really are, and they're more conditioned. And I'll tell you one thing, a lot of people talk about the National Hockey League, that a lot of the older guys couldn't play with today's version, right? Because they're a lot faster. Well, that's true. But if you turn the clock back, a lot of these other guys couldn't play in the old days when they were playing, when you had the original 6, 12 or whatever, and they were getting hammered like you wouldn't believe. So it's a great story all the way around. And whether you're talking and I've broken it down in many different ways here. Okay, the prosthetics. One individual thinks he's going to beat Father Time, and you know what? Nobody beats Father's Time. But again, I'll go back to that song called "Dreaming in the Twilight Zone." That's a different song, but no Memorex class. But I wish the kid well anyways, and I hope we see a lot more stories than that.
Absolutely. And Ralph Williams says, hello, guys. What's going on, Ralph? And to those of you all, real quick before I pass it to Scott for a quick ad break, to those of you all who weren't familiar with Jim Abbott, he pitched for the New York Yankees sometime in the early 1990s. He was born without a right hand. He once threw a no-hitter. And here's the trick. He explains that he actually wore a left-handed glove on his right arm, pitched, and then once the ball was hit, he made a quick switch of the glove to his left hand, and if he had to field a ball, he would either run him down or underhand it from his glove. That is coordination and talent on a whole nother level, despite not having a right hand. Like, that's crazy. But with that being said, yes, Mr. Parker Bird, you're most definitely an inspiration. And here's to you continue to inspire others. With that being said, we got to pay some bills. Scott, take it away.
All right, thanks, Dan. You guys doing a great job. Just so everybody knows, at the ticker, you can see a lot of our information anyways, and as well as Sideline Sports website. But let me just go over it for those individuals that happen to be not in front of their monitor, okay? Just so everybody know that Pundit is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. You can participate in the chat room. Great turnout tonight in the chat room. Really proud of every one of those that are participating. Or send your top idea at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Our Twitter/X is at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes producing the shows. And I have a book out there, folks. Please get it. I know everybody can learn a lot from it, called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, Old School Media versus New School Media, available on Kindle and Amazon. And a quick thing about the book here is if you know nothing about the media, you'll learn a lot. From dating back to my years when I started with Icorn in 1979, and now Icorn considers me his mentor now because he's learning about new media. And for all the individuals, that understand change, you know what? To me, you can have the fanciest equipment in the world, and a lot of times it's very impressive when individuals look at you. But the one thing I can take a lot of pride with every single thing we do here is none of our shows will not be prepared with timely commentary for what I consider the best group of commentators between what we have here and at Sideline Sports. It's a great partnership we have, but you know what? I don't care about the fancy bells and whistles as long as everything works right. I want everybody on every panel to understand when you come here, it's definitely worth your time. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to be entertained, and you will definitely want to come back. All right, Denzel, back to you.
All right. Awesome. You all know where to get the book. If you're not already on, well, wait till the end of the telecast, of course, and then go get that book, Lessons from the Microphone. So with that being said, we're going to our third topic here, and it's a discussion of a quick discussion here about the 100 most valuable sports franchises, and adding a note that the University of Colorado stock went up 51% because of Coach Prime. Once again, this is the Coach Prime effect. So doing a little further background on this one real quick, ticket sale revenue actually went up $14 million last year. They gained an additional $45 million in earned media due to nationally televised games. Now, in the top 10 list of most valuable franchises, I'll go from 10 to 1. Number 10 being the New York Jets. Number 9, the San Francisco 49ers. 8, the New England Patriots. 7, the Los Angeles Rams. 6, the New York Giants. 5, New York Yankees. I thought they'd be a little higher than that, but okay. 4, Lakers. Same thing. 3, New York Knicks. 2, Golden State Warriors. And number 1, the Dallas Cowboys. As you can see from the top 10, you have 1 baseball team and 3 NBA teams, and the rest of them football teams. So very interesting. But I wanted to start off with Jacob on this one and get your thoughts about this. Now, it's no secret that Coach Prime has brought in a lot of money, as you heard from my commentary just now, and he's brought in more recruits and everything now that, of course, has to translate to results on the field. But with that being said, I mean, despite them even going, they went like 4 and 8 last year, 5 and 7. Yeah, something like that. This is still like the most relevant Colorado has been in years. But what do you got?
Well, first of all,
everyone on here.
Everyone on here plus Jeremy plus Candy are all my mentors.
All my mentors, yeah.
All right, we're not done. Here's another one of our fans.
Here I am. No. Let me say this. The biggest thing about it is, like, it worries me right now after the fact, and I'm happy that it was able to help Colorado. And I don't have an issue with Coach Prime. But the thing is, I read something today that makes me concerned about Colorado now. It was like one of let's see, Deion Sanders' ideas. One of his ideas by itself actually cost Jackson State $800,000 because they took the rivalry game with Tennessee State away. He said, "We need to take this thing away because it's in Memphis. It's costing us too much money." But about a month later, he was out of there and went to Colorado, and they took it away. And then that's cost him $800,000. They had to pay Tennessee State off the contract. That's the thing. And then he took off so they had to pay that. See, remember what I said about Deion, and I wanted him to do for the HBCUs. Little ideas like that is why I wanted that for that. It's because you could have brought the value of that up along with, because he brought Colorado up. You could have brought an HBCU value up, all of them. And with the way that his advertising was, he's able to. And those were those type of deals. But though that's what the concern is. But bringing up, by the way, you were talking about the NFL teams. You want to know who's number 12, don't you?
Oh, what's 12?
The Bears.
Yep, Chicago. That's right.
The thing is, I don't see – they have not been relevant, truthfully, other than one Super Bowl in the 30 years. So that's just nostalgia. It's nostalgia, and it's big city. Everybody that we're seeing from the 10 on is big city. Number one's Dallas because of Jerry Jones.
Well, here, Jacob, why don't you go to Travis Holmes and continue on?
I sure will. Just being a New York team makes you significantly profitable, even the Jets. That's true.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for tuning in, Travis. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's like those were, and yes, absolutely. Though it is all, we talk about this part. Everybody talks about the small towns and just like the regular states as flyover. I don't like it myself because I'm from a small town. But unfortunately, what you see from Wall Street to value in sports to everything, it is California and LA. The only, truthfully, without Jerry Jones, Dallas would be Notre Dame. Yeah. Notre Dame's not. I mean, Stephen A. Smith brought up Notre Dame and why are they relevant? I had an afro, which is BS. We've seen his picture 20 years old. He did not. But that's what he said. That's what he brought up and stuff like that. Dallas would be the same way without Jerry Jones changing the game. Now, are they? I brought up what would they have to do to win, and it would have to be, but he's not going to do that because he's found a way to make value. He'd have to lose all that value to do that. So you have to pick one or the other in this situation. So we're not, but it's like it wouldn't be without that. So you really have to do something to get there. The Bears aren't going to, unless the Bears truly get plenty of winning. It's still a big city. They make it a top 10, but you're not going to beat New York or LA.
Yeah, true. I mean, just like the last commenter, just being a New York team, no Celtics, no Dodgers or Red Sox. I'm shocked. Yeah. Although at once upon a time, Will, they probably were up there. But yeah, just like the one before Will, just being in New York makes you valuable. Even the Jets, and they haven't made the playoffs in over a decade.
Well, and
so
again,
Travis Holmes, there it is. Yeah, you would think half the list would be New York, right? Commercial capital of the world. So,
Steph Curry's got Golden State.
Oh, yeah.
And Steph Curry's got Golden State. Let's just be completely honest there. And if you said no Boston, no anything like that, let's look back. The only one that ever made Boston valuable was Bird, as far as the number. That's just true. Paul Pierce never did. Jason Tatum doesn't now. It's just not. It takes star power. It's like the 85 Bears would make Chicago number one in that day and age. It's star power wherever you find it. It's big city plus star power. New York's got the combination.
Yeah, yes, they do. Well, with that being said, I want to pass it off to George Eichhorn and get your thoughts about the Coach Prime effect. More revenue, more stock going up for Colorado, and then also your thoughts about the most valuable franchises as well. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, there's no question that Deion Sanders and his amazing season, regardless of whether they won or not, he brought attention to that team, to that college, and all the more power to him. He kind of like grabbed them and got them out of the doldrums, so to speak. So I'm not surprised at all. I think you'll probably see more of that. I mean, and maybe not at that level, but we do have other star power going on in the league. people that are former athletes and getting into either coaching or getting into managing teams. We've seen that a long time. It doesn't surprise me, on the other hand, about your list. Dallas Cowboys, longtime America's team, as they were called. And even though they haven't made the playoffs or won a Super Bowl in ages, they still are right up at the top. I am a little bit surprised, the Cubs and the Red Sox, and I'll tell you why, because, they've held on to those venerable ballparks, Wrigley Field and Fenway Park, respectively. And they really have, sellouts after sellouts. But that being said, I mean, I think that in the eyes of the observer, if you're a baseball fan, you still have a reverential respect for those two ballparks and those two franchises. And you may not be in the top echelon, if you will, of all these teams, because let's face it, most of them are in the National Football League, and that's because the football has been has supplemented baseball as the national pastime.
That's
And
true.
obviously the television contracts and all the money that flows in and out of the NFL and television is a big force being used here. But I'll tell you what, even on a local level, when I hear about somebody like the Tigers, I mean, the value of the Tigers has gone up XXX, for the last 20 years. All the teams are seeing their value increased over the years and becoming much more difficult to buy. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but, the teams that have the drawing power, yeah. I mean, the media, the big cities, like you said, New York, LA, but in Golden State with Steph Curry, as Jacob alluded to. It's interesting to see this list, and it doesn't surprise me, but I do know this, that it's not all about championships, because you look at this list and a lot of teams haven't won in a long, long time, and the Cowboys and Jerry Jones right at the top of that. That's my 2 cents.
And you know what? It's crazy how back then it used to be just about like when you and Scott got started in media, right? And back then the value of a franchise pretty much was winning and merchandise sales, and it stopped there. But now you just got so much, and you alluded to it, Scott. I said it. The Jets hadn't made the playoffs in a decade. Cowboys hadn't won a Super Bowl since '95. But they're in the top 10. The Cowboys are still number one. An awesome point that you made, because over time football has kind of supplanted, took the place of baseball as the national sport, right? So I wonder during the 1990s, what this list would have looked like, and that's probably something that I'll research here sometime off the air, because I wonder where the Yankees were during the 90s on a list like this. I wonder where the Red Sox were. I wonder where the Mets and all of them were, because I just said it. You got 7 teams that are NFL. I wonder if back then 7 of those teams were MLB, or maybe a little bit more basketball. I'm also curious to know where the Bulls were during the 6-ring run. So, but with that being said, I want to round it off for Scott and get your thoughts about Coach Prime making the value of University of Colorado go up, and also your thoughts on the top 100 most valuable franchises. Go ahead.
Well, let's start with the New York Yankees. Bring up an interesting point. I think you should be wondering where they were in the 70s when CBS owned them. Okay. And they were in trouble. Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Okay. Giving you guys a history lesson. Boy, I've been full of history all night. Boy, unbelievable stuff. Way downtown bang, as Keith Olbermann would say. But really, in all reality, okay, you've got the Yankees were owned by CBS until George Steinbrenner bought them, and the Steinbrenners have had it since. How have they done? World Championships became a part of New York's emoji, whatever you want, MO. Okay, that's item number 1. Speed the clock up to Jerry Jones. Okay, Jerry Jones built his own stadium. Built it. His own. You ever sell the Cowboys, you're going to sell, okay, the franchise, and you're going to sell the stadium. Okay, so 2 for the price of 1. We're the first billionaire that can afford that kind of cabbage. Please stand up. I don't think there's many on this planet that can do it. So whether the Cowboys have success on the field, which they had to bring Jimmy Johnson because Jerry Jones, okay, couldn't do it by himself. No, Barry Switzer was walking through the door. Not that he deserved a ring anyways, right? And the eyes of Dick Schaap, we are all about storytelling in the media, right? Right? Storytelling, folks. That's it here. But here's the reality. You own your own stadium. You're a billionaire. You have boats all over the place. I don't know where they have them in Texas, where you have those luxury yachts. And now we bring up Deion Sanders, Colorado, right? Guess what? You know why that number isn't over 51%? Stadium only holds 50,000. Can you imagine if that stadium held 60, 70,000? Tell me that 51% would be a whole lot more than that, right? Would definitely get a lot higher. So, 51% is pretty good. And they were winning early and they were beating good opponents. It just so happens that Shedeur Sanders realized that the object of football is to stay on your feet, not lay on the ground. I believe he got sacked over 50 some odd times, right? Let me tell you, he's not like a time. One of my favorite sayings when people talk about me is, or I talk about myself. Ever heard of the Timex watch, right?
Takes a licking, keeps on ticking.
Right?
Yep.
Well, I take a licking and keep on talking. Okay, that's just me. I take a licking and keep on talking. But don't tell me that for Shedeur Sanders, who got battered and bruised and hammered last year. If the kid can stay upright, has a good offensive line, he'll be in the National Football League next year. But back to Colorado, okay? Deion Sanders took a job that probably not many people would have taken and figured he did a tremendous job over at Jackson State. And Jacob, I don't care what you think about Jackson State that he should stay there. Everybody's got opinions and everybody has, okay? But the reality is he was investing his own money to try to make them relevant. Went to Colorado. They didn't even have the money to pay him, but they had to find a way to do it, and they creatively got him paid. And he's paid dividends much, much faster is what he's done. So if anybody takes anything out of this long-winded answer for me, okay, the 51% that Colorado had could be more if that stadium holds between 60 and 80,000. And you never know. Maybe the one thing he'll do before it's all said and done, okay, is you get another 10, 15,000 seats so that you're at least able to bring it up to 65,000, 70,000 people. And then we have a different number than 51%. So,
Absolutely.
You have to break it down in a lot of layers. What do you think the LA Rams are worth? A whole lot more now that they got Wi-Fi Stadium, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where were they playing before? Remember, LA didn't have football for 20 years? All of a sudden, they got two teams right away. You got the Chargers and the Rams, although I think the Raiders should have gone there. The Chargers somewhere else. But the Raiders are in Vegas. That's another animal. So when you judge for franchise values, you generally judge them as a package deal, not only what they're worth and the owner, but the stadium for which they go ahead and reside in. That's what we have going on here.
Scott, a quick question. Because you mentioned, in order to get up there, build your own stadium, like Jerry Jones did. Quick question. Gillette Stadium, which was built 6 years before Jerry World, that belongs to Robert Kraft, correct?
I believe it does, actually. Yeah, because they ended up buying the team from the Sullivans with that. Just so everybody know, programming note, we have about 10 more minutes to go in the show, so we'll be able to do things. I believe it does, though. Again, that's a good point, Denzel. If a stadium belongs to an owner, like for a while, the Palace of Auburn Hills was owned by William Davidson, and he was owned, and the Pistons, then obviously the values go up. So, but that's what really enhances, let alone what the owner's worth is.
Yeah, and Robert Kraft, along with Jerry Jones, is also one of the top owners in the league. So with that being said, those are our topics, and then we are about to go and get these pundits points off our chest. So I want to pass it on to the Motor City Mad Mouth himself. Beam me up, Scotty. Come on in.
Beam me up and beam me up all day. I feel like I'm on PED, performance enhancing drink. And other individuals' words, it could be performance enhancing drugs, but I'll leave that for another day, camera or off camera. With my pundit's point, however, is pretty straightforward. The SEC fines LSU $100K over fan storming the court after an upset win over Kentucky. I have mixed emotions about this, but for the sake of safety, I have no problem. It's not like LSU can't afford $100,000 anyways. But you have to take the safety of your customer into consideration. So I'm okay with what they did. It's going to take a whole lot more than $100K to have that adrenaline rush. All right, the next point we're going to have is going to be with you, Denzel.
All right, really quick, and I've been excited to get to this one right here of what I was able to dig up. So everyone is familiar with, in baseball, hitting for the cycle. Of course, that's hitting for a single, double, triple, and a home run in the same game. If you hit for those four things in order, it's known as a natural cycle. But is there such thing as hitting for a home run cycle? You didn't know that was possible, did you? That was even a thing. Well, Arkansas's Danielle Gibson of Arkansas softball team accomplished that just the other night. She hit the following: a solo homer, a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and a grand slam, and she did it in 4 innings. The second player in NCAA history to do it. She's the 6th in NCAA history to hit 4 homers in a game. Arkansas defeated SIU Edwardsville 15-3 due to a mercy rule. And last but not least, a home run cycle. No MLB player in history has done it. No NBA player. No MLB player. She did. Amazing work, Miss Gibson.
All right, let's do a couple of emojis, which I don't understand, but they're worth going up. Good stuff, Duncan. And Jesse, a fan of the show here. Okay, let's get to him. All right, bad service. I don't know where the bad service is. You might want to send some clarity, but I believe that whatever you're saying there, Jesse, is probably something that you've well thought of, and we appreciate you being on the show. Okay. With that said, once should Jesse give me some more information what he means, I'll put that up there as well. Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
Real quickly, Quincy High, my alma mater. You are, in basketball right now, after last night, you won 48-47 first round regional. You're now 29-3, which is wonderful. But here's the thing. You are not underdogs anymore. You're not that little team that's scrappy. You are the powerhouse. You have the chance at being a champion. And the thing is, it's been since 1981, which that's grandpa's now. I want you to have an understanding of what it takes to be a champion here, because I am proud to see this, but I want to be able to understand it's going to be more than the record. It's going to be more than the time and more than everything and more than the teams you play. It is a mindset. I'm glad that you're not happy when you're holding a second place trophy, because I noticed it every time. But it's going to take more than everything else. It means that you beat a team from Philadelphia that was the Philadelphia City champion at the shootout. You beat them. You can beat anybody. If you can beat them, you can beat anybody from Chicago. You can beat them. But it's got to have a memory of knowing that you did it. And it's like, and I'm proud of all of you. But you're not. Quincy's 40,000 people. But you got to treat it like it's 4 million, 6 million, 8 million, like Chicago. You got to know that you can beat absolutely anyone. Forget the small town mindset now. You're going to go in and you're going to whip everyone. And it's a mindset that it's going to take. It's got to be more than one. It's got to be all 12, including coach, including the managers. Quincy, I'm wishing you well. I'm proud of you. And go for it, and go for that state title.
Well done, Jacob. All right, George, you're next.
Yeah, my final remarks are a little sad. I just received word tonight, Scott, that a guy who was our mentor for a while and helped us out a little bit to get started in this business has died. Detroit sportscaster Ron Cameron died late Tuesday night. He is along the lines of, I think of Al Ackerman, I think of Bob Page. And I think of you, Scott. People that say what's on their mind, they tell you the way it is. And that was certainly Ron Cameron's mantra. Over the years, I've partnered with him on different shows and been a guest on his shows. And he's been in the business for quite a while. Bob Page worked with him, Eli Zaret. Norm Plummer, Denny McClain, George Blaha worked with him, and he helped Dick Vitale launch his radio career, as you know, Scott, and you were the producer of many of those shows over at ABCO and WXYZ. So he was a tough guy to work with. We know that, but we do ask for blessings upon him and his family and friends. And Ron was 79 years old. There will be a tribute to him locally in Detroit on a radio program on station WPON tomorrow morning. So rest in peace, Ron. You gave it all you got, and we're proud of you, my friend.
Well done, George. Let me add to that. Obviously, George mentioned it, and I'll mention it as well. Ron and I worked together for a long time as well. George started as producer. I succeeded George with him. And Ron was one of those types of people where you know what? He was outspoken, but the one thing you had to do with him is you had to be thick-skinned and not tolerate his strong behavior. And I learned at a young age in the business, for a lot of you folks that are watching, where you have to hold your ground and not let anybody intimidate you, whether they think that they have the power over you or not, because everything you do in life is a collective team effort. It isn't one person trying to overpower the other, regardless of what their role is and where you're at. And I think it's important to realize, but I owe a lot to Ron. I really, really, really do. He had an idea wanting to get baseball here in Boca Raton, Florida, and met with Kevin Cooney. I let him stay with me for a few days. Wasn't able to pull it off, but he was a hustler. Here's a guy that knew how to get ads. He used to go ahead and make trades for hotels. If there was a way that he could find a way to keep himself active, Ron did it. So yeah, Ron, rest in peace. I want to thank you very much for everything you've done for me, George, and obviously Denzel and Jacob heard about Peter Ween last week. Well, now you get another piece of history here because you guys are on and understand a little bit about what our background is. Great show tonight. We'll end it really quickly with a few contact information. George, really quickly about the book. Go ahead.
Yeah, Scott's in the book. Ron Cameron's in that book. Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. You can read my column on the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner. And at the end of the column, there'll be a link if you're interested in purchasing my book. You can reach me also at gicorn@yahoo.com, on LinkedIn, and also on Twitter on SanGSports99. Find me on many of these great shows here, including 108 Stitches, the Sports Exchange, Pundit. Thank you, Scott, for your comments too. I appreciate it.
Okay, Denzel, go ahead.
Denzel Sniper 13 on Twitch. Denzel Snipes 13 on YouTube. Denzel Snipes on Facebook, and Nelly Nell 13 on X. Gauntlet tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be going over the Green Bay Packers offseason preview and much more. So tune in.
Cliff Notes, Jacob.
5 shows a week, 4, sometimes 5 off the bench. And I'm also on I'm Jake the Pundit on Twitter, Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok, Jake the Pundit on Reddit, plus a few other things that I do write for a couple different publications.
Well done. And of course, for those individuals that are watching, you've seen our contact information all throughout the show. Those that haven't, again, we broadcast the audio version, iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, we also do everything via Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. So, and again, one last time, my book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom, Visionary Leaders, Old School Media versus New School Media, is available on Kindle and Amazon. And yes, there is a reference, quite a bit of a reference on Ron Cameron. So we want to thank everybody out there for joining us here on Pundit's Pundit. On behalf of Jacob Christopher, George Eichhorn, Denzel Sipes, my name is Scott Morganoff. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you next week. Have a great week, everybody.